Castle is located in Wolfsburg, Westphalia, Germany. This fortress, known as the Nazi Temple of Doom, inspired the classic computer game fortress Wolfenstein. Heinrich Himmler, the SS's chief, believed the castle has mysterious powers and intended to transform it into a spiritual Mecca for the Nazi occult, a location for the 12 SS department chiefs and other SS elite to gather and spiritually prepare for their future missions. However, this aim was never completely realized, and only 2 such gatherings were held. The last occurred between June 12th and 15, 1941, 1 week before the beginning of Operation Barbarossa, the code name for the invasion of the Soviet Union. At the conference, Himmler informed his generals that the goal of the operation was to destroy around 30 million Slavs. The Nazi government would get dangerously near to this figure. Wolfsburg Castle's foundations date back to the Middle Ages. The castle's current design comes from the 17th century. The castle is situated near the Teutoburg forest. The fortress was supposed to be the spot where Arminus, a Germanic tribal leader, beat the Roman army, adding to its old mystique. For the last 75 years, the castle has emitted a sinister magnetism that has captivated Satanists and neo-Nazis alike, pulled in by pagan iconography and Nazi occultism, transforming this location into a cruel pilgrimage. Much of the pseudo-religious mystique that has enveloped this castle since 1945, including torch-lit ceremonies, old Nordic and pagan rites, and the mythology of the old Aryan, is fabricated. Much of the rumors arise from Himmler's distorted grasp and interpretation of Germanic and Nordic mythology. He was attracted with prophecy, mystical power, and the idea that the Aryans were a super race. The SS was created to be the personification of this concept. Himmler really sought a place where he could instill these ideas in future SS commanders. Himmler acquired the property in 1934 and leased it for 100 years at a symbolic rental payment of 1 Reichsmark each year. Initially, Hitler intended to convert the facility into a leadership school for SS officers, but this was eventually revised, and it was meant as a gathering place for the SS elite. The Wolfsburg Castle was established to investigate pseudo-scientific notions of Germanic pre- and early history, medieval history, folklore, and genealogy. All of this was designed to lay the foundation for the SS's racial indoctrination. Vast archaeological excavation sites arose here and at other notable sites, including the Externstein, a place of Christian devotion that the Nazis mistook for a heathen place of worship. All of the hypotheses proposed by Nazi archaeologists failed to withstand investigation, and only through intimidation and repression of academics were any of them published. The dearth of proof, however, did not deter Himmler. If he could not find the archaeology, he would fabricate it. In an Indiana Jones-style collecting frenzy, a great deal of effort was placed into gathering ancient artifacts such as the Spear of Destiny. Even the castle's architecture is fabricated. Mystic meeting rooms inspired by King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table had 17th century plaster removed from the walls and rebuilt with stone cladding to give the interior a more medieval vibe. The arches at the Hall of Generals may seem medieval, although their supports are built of concrete. It's a stunning illustration of how Himmler attempted to fabricate and reconstruct history in order to legitimize his own pseudo-religious beliefs. When you look beyond the curtain, there is nothing there, as there was with much of Nazi pomp and luxury. The specific nature of any ceremonies done here remains unclear. Historians are convinced, however, that no pagan rites to invoke Nordic gods or anything of the kind occurred. In the years following their rise to power, the Nazi Party clashed with the Christian Church, using newly discovered fake archaeology to support their push for Germans to abandon traditional Christian celebrations in favor of pagan-inspired Nazi occultism, even creating their own Christmas and marriage celebrations. During Himmler's 12-year control of the castle, this designated pseudo-religious setting hosted many weddings and swearing-in ceremonies for SS generals. Also kept here were the SS honor rings of dead colleagues. They were preserved in a box in the castle's crypt to represent the dead SS members' continuous participation. In all, 11,500 rings were stored here, but no one knows what happened to them after the war. Rumor has claimed that they are buried in a neighboring mountain. Himmler's vision for the castle was never completely realized. His desire to transform the location into a spiritual center for the new world of Nazi ideology after the final victory resulted in a castle design with monolithic proportions. His ambitions were so big that the population of Wolfenstein were to be moved to the freshly captured Lebensraum in the east, and the town would be submerged. Construction on the site started with labor from the Freiwilliger Arbeitsdienst, but with the onset of World War II, these workers were drafted into the military, and a more sinister construction approach was utilized. Himmler ordered a detention camp erected specifically for the castle's construction. More than 3,900 convicts worked on the project. The labor conditions were so bad that the Wolfsburg camp had a shockingly high death rate, with at least 1,229 individuals dying from fatigue, poor treatment, or execution. Following the loss at Stalingrad, development on the Wolfsburg castle ceased. A new edict mandated that all non-essential building projects that did not contribute to the war effort be halted, leaving the site to 42 convicts and SS guards. Shortly before the war's conclusion, Himmler had the castle razed. SS Major Heinz Macher and 15 men demolished most of the site with explosives and anti-tank mines. What was left standing was set on fire, and the site was heavily plundered in the days that followed. The medieval facade survived, and 2 chambers in the North Tower have been retained as structural remnants of Nazi construction. The crypt and the Hall of the Supreme SS Leaders, which have the sunwheel design on the floor, are unique. On March 31, 1945, the U.S. 3rd Armored Division seized the location and incarceration camp. The castle's reconstruction started in 1948, and it reopened in 1950 as a museum and youth hostel. Today, the whole site is a war memorial, with the museum housed in the old SS guard station on the castle courtyard. If you want to stay here, the youth hostel is still open.